Welcome back to the Kimi Kato Show. Kimi's special guest today on the show is Genki Ito. He's the CEO of tippsysake.com. Wow, this music's great. Kimi, I think I've heard it before. What are we listening to?
Yes. So you
I
just
don't think I've heard
heard,
this artist, though. I love what they're
no,
doing with it.
no, you've heard the song before, though.
I've
The
heard the
song was
song.
Blackbird, and it's performed or interpreted or covered by HIROMI, who is a highly acclaimed Japanese jazz pianist and composer. She's known for her virtuosic playing style, blending elements of jazz, classical, and fusion music. She's released numerous albums, both as solo artist and part of the different musical ensembles. She's gained international recognition for her exceptional talent and innovative approach to jazz piano.
Mhm.
And now you're listening to Time Bomb. Originally, a song by a punk rock band called Rancid. I grew up listening to them. And it's
So did I.
performed by, right? It's performed by a Japanese jazz band called Tri Fourth, spelled Tri number four and TH, Tri Fourth. And they're known for their fusion in various music genres, including jazz, funk, rock, and electronic music. The band was formed in 2008 and composed by four members. They're characterized by high energy, complex rhythm, and virtuosic instrumental performances. So
Hmm.
there
Good
you
stuff. And
have,
what an interesting song, Time Bomb, to cover by a jazz band. It looks
right?
very
Yeah.
original. Very cool. Well, hey, let's get back to the drinking, the sake.
Well, we're pairing this
Perry,
song with sake. Yeah.
excuse me.
There
I
you
might
go.
be drinking up here in Santa Barbara soon.
Yeah. So I wanted to see if you can introduce Tipsy a little bit more about you talk about your website so that we can kind of learn more about it. And if, say, for instance, I'm a novice in sake, I should just go to tipsy.com, right? And find out what I would probably like. Because I'm sure there's hundreds of selections, but now what do I do?
Right. So go to tippsysake.com if you're interested in learning more about sake or you want to buy sake and drink it at home. So you go to the homepage and you will find different navigation system. You have a different options to search for your favorite sake. We go by category, price points, and we have type of sake styles. And then if you really are not sure what to do, you can either get a starter set that comes with like a mini bottle tasting set of 6 bottles and starter guide. It's like a small
Mm,
booklet. And then it also comes with product card. So you can learn about the brewery while you drink the sake from that exact brewery. And also you can go to the quiz page and our sake specialist. I don't want to call myself an expert because I am probably a professional drinker because I get paid for running this
professional
business.
drinker, that's what I want to call
Um,
myself.
but the real expert
I
is
get that title.
in-house. So we have wine and sake sommelier who navigates you through your journey, asks you question on our website, what type of beverage you drink usually, what type of flavors do you prefer, what do you like to eat while you drink alcohol. So you'll see a selection of 3 to 6 different bottles that are personally curated for you at the end of the quiz.
Right. And how much does it start from?
So each bottle you can starts from about $30. So you have to get at least 3 for your personal curation subscription. So that's about 120, 130 range.
Hmm.
That's
Okay.
like a wine club. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wine
That's
club.
the concept. Because we know that a lot of people that come to our website have no idea where to start. So we wanted to, provide some, interesting
Mhm.
choices that people can explore. So that part of that is that sake club.
I like that about your website. It was real approachable, and I liked how I could pull down different flavors to then connect the rice to them, and then the sake, and on and on. I just had a real quick thought that popped in my head. A wine expert's a sommelier, right? is there is there an equivalent in the sake world?
Yeah, it's
Someone
called
that's an expert?
kikizakeshi, but it's literally the same sake sommelier, and it's you have to be certified, and then some restaurants have sake sommelier. Some really nice restaurants they do have some. Yeah, it's just like wine sommelier.
Okay, that's good to know.
Can you
So
become a kikizakeshi here in the US? Can you get that?
Yes, I think the organization is
title.
called SSI, and they come here to do the test. And there's like I think written version of it, and there's also a tasting part of it. So you have to actually blind taste the sake to pass the test.
Wow.
But I might be wrong. There are different versions, different licenses. So some of them require tasting, some don't.
so it's
So
like the grape, how they do the different grape varietals and the terra or the soil and wine. They're doing this with rice. You're tasting the different rice, maybe the different
It's not
strands.
that difficult. I think it's
Oh,
well, there are different levels, and then the highest level is probably something similar. You have to be really knowledgeable. You have to have a really good taste bud, to be a certified like a master sommelier of wine. There's the version in sake world too.
And Jeremiah, may I ask, when do you drink sake?
Oh, I'd love
Or
to
when
know.
do you feel like drinking? Or do you ever feel like drinking sake?
To tell you that, so I'll tell you my first experience with sake. It was at Chaya Venice. Chaya, the restaurant, it's closed now, but there's one in Beverly Hills, there's one in San
Chaya.
Francisco.
Okay.
And they had the server started talking to us about sake, and we had some sort of a meal that night that paired well with it. And they brought it was, from my memory, cold sake, and I don't remember the brand, and then a beer, right? And then they would kind of teach us, you go between the two. And I'm not sure if there's a
Style?
procedure there, or if there's like you do this first, you do that second. But I drank the sake and the beer, went back between those, and I thought those are the two best combinations. And every chance I get now, this is the truth. I haven't done it for a while, but if there is a restaurant that offers a nice sake menu and some cold Japanese beer, I'll do that every time. I'll do that over a cocktail. I'll do that over a glass of wine. But I'm admitting I don't know anything about it. I've learned more today than I learned in all my years, about 20 years of drinking it. So shame on me, but I'm happy I'm here
Well, that's
now.
great. That's great. Well, I'd love to hear what Genki thinks about. So what's the best way of pairing sake with food? What's the choices?
Yeah,
For
is that
instance,
traditional beer and sake, or are they?
so I don't really drink sake and beer. Like when
No? Okay.
I would start with a beer, for instance, and then when I finish drinking my beer, then I'll probably go into sake. Almost
Okay.
like I'd have my first drink with start off with a beer, and then I'll go into wine.
Okay.
But I would then choose either wine or sake, right?
But that's
So,
probably an American way that I did it, right?
but I
It's
don't know.
not.
I mean, I would like to
Do
hear
you,
about that actually.
Jeremiah, do you mean you had sake and beer like mixed together?
No, like I
Is that
would
how you drank
have,
it?
But you had alternate, like
but
you
maybe,
have
Okay.
I'm thinking
In
about
turns.
they
alternately.
would come, yeah, they would come together, but I
Oh,
would drink the beer. I think I'm similar to you, Kimi. I'll drink the beer, and then
oh,
then I'll start to drink the sake. Like
right. Okay.
I think it was put to me, maybe it was just that first experience, and I carried it throughout all my experiences, that it
And
was
it's
kind of a
20,
tradition to
that's
have.
20 years ago. Is that first
Yeah.
experience you had?
Yeah.
Because
But is that a tradition, or is that
yeah,
just
the
the way
reason
it
why I
was?
asked this question is that, people drink sake and beer together, and it's called sake bomb.
Right,
Yeah,
That's
it
what
wasn't that.
that's what gave the average American consumers the misperception that the
Oh,
sake
yeah.
industry is
Ah,
suffering.
I was
And
I was working on a band 20 years ago, actually, literally over 20 years ago, called Sum 41, and they loved doing sake bombs. They would drop sake into the beer mug. So, and it became a tradition when every time Sum 41 would come to Japan, they would do that, right?
is
So
that why
in the
you're
end,
closing your eyes and it looks like you have a
right. So
headache
I
or
was
a
like, oh
hangover?
my good, yeah, it was like I'm having a hangover right now.
You're having a flashback.
Yeah, no, yeah, so they ended up releasing a DVD called is that Sake bombs and happy endings, Tokyo DVD. Like,
That sounds inappropriate.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that definitely is the reason why people have the wrong perception of sake.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
it's partly my fault.
I feel like I fell into a trap. I was fooled.
That's
How
what
do I
that
do
we are
it?
trying to
I want to
disrupt
know
that
how to do it.
misperception.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the
What's the
college
proper?
punk rock way. Now let's hear the proper way.
So, yeah, you should never mix sake and beer. But I once tried that before, and I was enjoyable.
Okay.
I have to say,
It's fun.
yeah, it's fun. Usually, yeah, it's fun, definitely.
Especially if you're with a
Um,
rock band.
yeah, but for pairing, I think I just want to say there's no rules, and I'm no expert, but I like, drinking and eating a lot. So one good thing about sake is that there's less acidity than wine, you know. So wine is usually more, acid, and then some, I don't want to say it like, it applies to all type of vegetables, but some vegetables don't, agree well with wine. I think wine drinkers can, understand that. But sake, because of its, low acidity level, it can be paired with pretty much anything. And that's like a curse that sake has, because people in the industry want to say, okay, you can pair that with burger, pizza, or pasta, or whatever it is. So it's difficult to really say that, this sake can be a perfect pair with this type of food. But in general, like I try to explain, same as wine, dry sake is like dry white wine. You can pair that with, seafood. And for red meat, people will usually, think of red wine. For sake, maybe you can try something like Yamahai, which requires a really labor, a lot of labor to make that Yamahai, because you can probably see a picture of people like stirring the with a wooden pole to stir the rice mash to ferment the sake. So that's that process is required for this category Yamahai, and it's very complex, and then has a multitude of flavors. And because of the type of yeast that they use, the natural yeast that lives in-house in the brewery, that goes into the sake, it becomes really complex in flavor. So that acidity cut through the oil of the meat. So it's usually really good pairing for something like Wagyu. So there are different type of pairing you can explore. And I'd like to say there's no rules, because, just like wine, there are different types of sake, and it's just your preference. You can just eat and drink whatever you like.
Well, we've got to take another break here real quickly, but before we go, I wanted to ask one more question just out of curiosity to finish that conversation up. That was very helpful. Warm or hot sake versus cold sake. When should you choose hot sake? When should you choose cold sake?
Good question.
So, you can always think of warming up the sake if the quality of the sake is dry. If you are drinking aromatic sake, it's not a good idea to warm it up, because it kills the aromas. And then for pairing, I would usually like to eat some traditional Japanese food like oden. That's like a stewed, fish cakes and stuff like that. That's a winter traditional dish in Japan, and you would like to drink hot sake or warm sake to pair with that. That's like it warms you up. It's a perfect pairing. But for cold sake, I would just do it like aperitif. I don't usually eat much. I want to enjoy the flavors of the cold sake.
That's a good answer. Thank you. I'm educated. Almost ready to go host a party right now at my table and treat everybody to some sake. Kimi, we're going to go back to your beautiful soundtrack. It was a great
All
soundtrack
right.
you put together for this interview with our
Okay.
special guest this hour, our special guest on the KIMI Kato show, Genki Ito. He's the CEO of tippsysake.com. And
the
Kimmy, what
song,
are we gonna listen to?
the
Yeah.
song you'll be listening to will be Merry Christmas Mr. Lawrence. It's a song written by Ryuichi Sakamoto. It's based on it was written for a film soundtrack called Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, and it was a movie it was made in 1983. It was a British-Japanese war film directed by Nagisa Oshima. And it's performed by Kaori Muraji, who is a highly acclaimed classical guitarist from Japan. It's a lovely song performed so beautifully by Kaori Muraji.
Enjoy it. And then you're listening to the Kimi Kato Show. We'll be right back.